Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. After that short break, we are picking up our continued work on the budget memo process. We have spreadsheet in front of us with little font sizes. And at this stage, what I'm hoping to do here is use this time to go through these items one by one, because we've had some more information trickle in and requests that have been added to this since last time we discussed. And just go through the chart right now and start to really like refine this and the understanding. So then we can start making a more formal, or taking more formal positions on it later, later this week, which is presumably tomorrow. So I wanted to use this time to take a look at these things in a little bit more nuance, so everybody has a firm grasp of what we're looking at. That makes sense?
Can I make a suggestion?
Certainly.
If we don't hear a discussion or disagreement, and we all seem to agree that the particular ask is a yes, that we check that off, that box off right now, and move on to the more difficult items tomorrow. So we're not doing every single one tomorrow.
I'm happy with that. Everyone else? Okay,
Well,
yes.
who decides what's more difficult? Is it anything that we want to discuss that we don't,
Right.
we're not unanimous on?
Right. So if we have a unanimous ask today, just check it off with the appropriate color for yes. And then move on to the more complex, not difficult, but complex items tomorrow.
So I got on
Sure.
computer plug here. Over on charge that I thought I was.
So while Chair Byron's doing that, last year we came up with a kind of a template to use where we yes, a maybe, a no, and a taking no position. So we've got 4 options for what we can decide on. And we did try to be fairly unanimous last year in our recommendations. And this year, it just seems like we have a lot more asks, but I think part of that is we've uncovered a lot more pieces that belong to us.
Yeah, so I'm just flipping through those real quick, just to scan my eyes over it one more time. And then just start going box by box in order.
If somebody has a question like, did we hear from these folks? Or when did we hear from these folks? We can figure that out and give everybody that information if you need to read more about it.
So starting from the top. The first one is the request from the Vermont Food Bank. That also came through a lot of the other stakeholders. And that is for the Vermonters Feeding Vermonters program. The request is $2 million. The support for the food bank network of food shelves and meal sites, that is $2 million. And an additional $1 million for ready response for food access and emergencies. That's something we've been talking about been building up for several years now in and around our emergency response call hazards work. So at total ask of $5 billion. Any thoughts or conversation on it? Rep. Waters Evans.
Say what I said the other day, I think if we're going to spend money on anything, it's feeding people.
Yeah.
Can't imagine there being anything more important than that. So I'm ready for the full amount.
There you go.
I just want to say that I have not touched base with the Agriculture Committee on this. But they will also be making a recommendation to House appropriations. As well as the next item. Even though it says Human Services, Ag has a piece of that.
Okay. Yes, Rep. Waters Evans.
Sorry, I'm wondering, so if there are items on this budget list that we're going over right now, if we still need to get in touch with people, then are we not going to decide on it today?
I don't necessarily need to get in touch with agriculture. I just haven't talked to them to see what their recommend is, because we're gonna do our own recommend regardless of what agriculture.
Right.
is.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you were saying you wanted to
Nope.
delay deciding on that one because you hadn't talked to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I guess weighing in with my opinion on this, I'm comfortable with putting this full ask forward just because of the nature of like what they're achieving to do here with in just the era that we are in with food insecurity and whatnot. Representative Hoover, right?
I would be uncomfortable with any alternative.
So that's like inverted support.
I'm saying we better recommend 5 million. Like give them the whole top of that.
About 4.9.
No,
Sounds like we have consensus. So let's
Okay.
allow us to say something tonight.
So for the first line item for Vermont Food Bank, full ask $5 million, is an agreement. Yeah. All right, let's do thumbs for just a record of action here.
Yep.
All right. Next up, NOFA Vermont, funding for farm viability and address food security. Crop cash, farm share. $500,000. I'm sorry, what was Rep. Hoover?
Drop in the bucket.
Okay. Any comment on that line item from team members?
Just gonna say that full support and then it pairs well with the first ask that we just funded us.
Okay, show of thumbs. Right,
So the first four go, correct?
yes. Next up, retirement division. So, the bill is referenced here, H 567 over the notes section. This request is, from the treasurer's office, policy and research. In and around their office and their jurisdiction with the retirement funds. Just a reminder, this was something, this position was in the bill that we wrote it out. So that is included in that individual piece of legislation, but it is shared. Yes.
So it says none for the amount. I'm assuming that person is going to get paid. Is that one of the positions that's getting paid from a fund? That, okay,
Yes, so that is the, so there was like two positions, and so the next one just like interplays with this conversation. Where that one is being funded by the fund itself.
Mhm.
So it's not a direct request of the general fund, but it's, I think it's in and around. So.
Comes out of the bank until like the end of the year and then they balance up.
But it's a true up at the end.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarity. Okay, any comments on this one? So thumbs in support. All right.
So we say, so they're the only one or not?
No,
No, because it's like funded from the fund and what Bob was just, or excuse me, Representative Hooper was just describing, it's like it comes out of like one pot and then it's that sum gets squared up at the end of the year with one transfer. If I'm saying it correctly. All right. Next up is the VPIC one. That was also a conversation in and around the H567. Now the committee decided to not include that language in the bill. So this is another vehicle for that ask. I, for one, we didn't put it in the bill. I was gonna leave this as a committee discussion on this one. I don't want to like guide the conversation. I'm gonna go Pistonal, then Waters Evans, then Hanko.
So if I'm correct, this is the one that was gonna fund itself for the first year. Right? This new position?
That was.
Wasn't it going to fund itself the first year through the buying of the unclaimed properties? Am I off?
No, that, I think that was a different component of that.
I don't think it's that one.
No,
Well, it was the financial director,
Oh, you were thinking of, no, different,
different department.
yeah,
That was a different-
something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a similar.
Pensions.
Okay, like. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure if that's the right one.
Grab Waters Evans.
So it was asked for in that same bill, the H567.
They came in and offered testimony to include.
It was an original ask, we removed it.
No, it was never in the bill.
It was never in the bill.
We opted to not include.
Okay, so it's not in the bill, there's no money appropriated, and it wasn't in the governor's recommended budget?
Correct.
Well,
There was an expense to it. So.
and it would be creating a position.
Correct.
Mhm.
I feel like that's several strikes against it.
I mean, we did opt not to put it in the bill.
Yeah, like if it's not in any legislation, nobody has any money for it, and maybe this is just something I heard other people say that they're not really inclined. Although, I guess why would we fund it if we didn't put it in the bill? Because it doesn't exist. We would be creating the position through appropriations.
Right.
Yes,
Is-
contrary to our policy
Executive
decision as a committee.
practice.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Okay, then I feel like we shouldn't do that, then. I'm not even sure why it's on the list, but yeah, thank
Well,
you.
these are just all the asks, right?
Oh, okay.
That's what we're sussing out
Okay.
right now is like,
Yeah.
like all of the asks, but yes, I'm. I am.
Okay.
Rep Hango, then Rep Uber.
Yeah, so we're being extra cautious this year because we missed some last year, so that's why things like this are on this spreadsheet. We just want to make sure we hit all bases and we can't, we can defend ourselves afterwards. If somebody comes and says, you didn't put my ask on your spreadsheet. So I am of the opinion that if we did not put it in the bill, we've already vetted that we're not supporting it.
Rep Uber.
so some of the background on this is, you look at, there's a new job, quote unquote, in the VPIC office that was transferred over from the treasurer's office, the OPEB funds, their post-employment benefits. So somebody that's in the existing staff is going to have to take over the investment and monitoring of that. It's odd to me that they would shift over programs without a staff person, but workload is going to increase. The people that manage money. Just a point of information on that.
It's not.
Well, not to be sarcastic, but my ask would be, are they all back to work 5 days a week? They back in the office or trying to do something like that. You can't manage those kinds of monies from a computer at home. You'd have to be in office. So is the staff back full time? That would be my ask.
I don't know what they're doing within their internal practices for remote work or enclaves. Rep Coffin?
I just, because we didn't put it in the bill, intentionally said we're not doing this. That to try to put it in this way would be a backdoor of from the bill we already sent out of here. I wouldn't include it.
Yeah, and that's just kind of reaffirming the point that was made a little earlier.
Well, in this, we're basically saying to appropriations, put this on your list. It's high enough on our list that we would recommend it. It's not necessarily doing it. Right. Yeah.
It's just a recommendation, but yeah. So, I'm feeling like the consensus is not to recommend this at this point.
Well, I have a couple questions. Though. I don't think anyone in this room can answer. Well, one of my questions was if we already hear from the treasurer's office about this? We heard the testimony earlier. Okay. And they were like, we really need this. And yes.
The treasurer's office with
Yeah.
this, they were, if I recall correctly, this component, they were agnostic on.
The VTech part, they were
Yes.
agnostic on, okay, okay.
And they supported the passage of the bill out of committee.
The way it was.
Oh, okay, all right, then I don't have questions.
Yes. Maybe.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess what I'm gonna ask is a thumb to,
Thumbs down.
I guess we'll go thumbs down? Yeah, we'll go thumbs down. Okay, thumbs down. Instead of inverting a question.
Yes.
All right. Up next is the Vermont Retired State Employees Association. This was a conversation that we did also have. We had testimony on it in and around the same bill. And it was the language that we opted to not include in it, if I recall correctly. Yep. So it's very much sort of the same, very similar, if not identical to the conversation we just had on. So we did not include it in the bill. So I would be inclined to say a no recommend and let the stakeholders have that conversation with the corporations. Yes. Okay. Thumbs southward.
Seems weird doing that.
Yeah.
It's like I'm gonna wanna go down.
Scene in a movie keeps popping to mind.
Yes.
All right, next up, Veterans Hope. So with this, the amount is $337,439 general fund money. And we heard from the home about a gap that they were just trying to fill in their general appropriation. If the notes are over in the margin here. Higher costs, staffing operations, Rep. Dwayne.
Just a quick question, maybe Rep. Hooper can answer this. It says not in the governor's recommend, but that the governor's recommend did include a normal inflationary increase. So do you know what the difference is between what they're asking, what the governor put in his recommend?
I do not.
Yeah.
I want to, and I'm putting an ish on a very big number. I want to say that they were asking for 1.2-ish, and then the inflationary adjustment was about another half a millish, and then this squares it up to about a 1.8, maybe it was 300,000. The gap, I believe it was about 1.5, and then this gets them up to about 1.8. If I remember that conversation.
So that's the gap.
This is the gap.
Okay,
Yep.
Not the full gap.
No, not the full gap. No, because they did get an adjustment, but they're asking for more on top of the adjustment because of increased costs and some other variables. So there was a number floating around in my head that the number that was being proposed was around 1.5, 1.4.
Plus,
But this plus gets it up to about a 1.8. Real water sentence.
I'd rather not make a decision on this till we have that.
You can absolutely pull that back.
Okay.
I might be able to pull that right up. I'll just make it that.
Jim,
Yes, I'm sorry, I wrote this down.
if you remember in years past, they used to put in a budget figure and then they would come back for the BAA, get budget adjustment. Last year was the first year they didn't do that. So this is their ask to make the budget full, so they don't have to come back for the BAA every year. So this is to make
Oh,
the
that's fair.
budget full.
Mhm.
And it's the shortfall from the Medicaid reimbursements and all the
Thank
different
you.
adjustments.
Okay.
So
I'm
this
good.
makes their budget full, that way they don't have to come back for the BAA every year. This,
Thank you for that. That was.
Thank you,
important.
Sandy. That's what we were missing. Okay,
Yes.
I'm all for it.
Mhm.
Changed my mind.
And just to note, the notes section is very preliminary. It's not it's something we asked Nick to do, and not knowing the policy, it's really hard to write the notes. So that's
So we're gonna go with 1.5 plus.
no, they're all.
Well,
Well, they just, okay.
the conversation right now is about the
337.
337,
Yeah.
439 in that column.
Did
So-
you have their letter? If anybody
Mhm.
Yeah, that's,
would like, I can send it to the whole committee.
I forgot about that extra part that Rutland's not just reminding us about.
It was only 3 weeks ago, but it seems so much further away.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that BAA part was a good piece of information. Thank you. for that.
So their total FY 27 budget is $30,996,762. Let's just call it 31. They're requesting 10 million in general funds, which is a 1.9% increase, which is 337,439. So that's what we're seeing from FY 26. And the remainder of the budget comes from special funds and federal funds. So really, they are 1.9% increase is pretty low. Especially with the kind of services they deliver, having to pay for medical professionals and supplies. So that is what their ask is from general funds.
Okay, with that clarity, are we comfortable taking a position on this? Favorable to thumbs up? Next up, the Vermont State Ethics Commission. About the two positions that they were requesting. We've taken a lot of testimony on this over the years.
I mean, we asked the Ethics Commission to do this in 2024. And we gave them responsibilities. And right now it says, when you go to the ethics website, it says that they don't have enough money or staff to fulfill the duties that we gave to them. And I would like to, my feeling is that we should approve this amount. It's
like it's the ethical thing to do, not trying to be funny, but like, we can't just put unfunded mandates on people and then watch them crumble in front of our eyes. I think honestly, this is a low ball ask of them. It's pitiful, the amount of work that we have put on them. They barely have a staff as it is, so I think this is the least we can do. Strong yes on this. Here's that.
I would agree, it's kind of hard to do something we've asked them to do if they don't have staff to do it. He's a one-man show, correct?
part-time. They're two part-time and the director's on a leave of absence.
Mhm.
And I do have a theory, which is based on nothing but my own theories, which is that we've been hearing all this stuff about public records and how there's so many requests and it's difficult for municipalities to handle them. And I think if they had this avenue for questions about municipal complaints, then people wouldn't feel like they had to take matters into their own hands and request every email the select board chair ever sent to somebody.
Right.
But maybe it would alleviate that.
It's fine.
It kind of go hand in hand and not solve the problem.
Rep. Nugent?
I do have some concerns about the oversight of that mission and how it's been operating. That makes me hesitate to support it wholeheartedly. I'd like to see some clarity around the roles and responsibilities of the board versus the staff, and it doesn't. I don't think that either of these positions would be overseeing the municipal complaints. So the issue, I don't think they would resolve that either.
One is actually for municipal,
Okay.
and then the other one is for the general counsel for the state side. So though it's two positions with admin equipment hardware.
Spoke to that in testimony about providing like to municipalities. That the attorney, they wanted to hire.
So Rebecca?
Thank you. I've got their budget letter up and I just want to, through no fault of Nick's, it says not in government, governors recommend. That has to do with the additional amount. So if you look over here under amount, it says what it really is. It's above the governor's recommend, because governor's recommend is 250,540. And then they want an additional 351, 382 above that. And that's the two general counsel plus some additional operating costs. So I know we've been really sharply divided on this in the past. So I would like to propose one attorney for them and see how they go from there, and then revisit this again next budget cycle.
So in essence, kind of splitting the difference.
Yep. That's my
That's what I just
proposal.
wrote down.
Rep. Pincinel?
So, knowing that they need $49,000 worth of equipment, office space and computers and stuff, would you put that as part of the, would you do like the 139 and the 49 and say 175?
I would split the 49 because additional computers would be for two individuals in office
Okay.
space.
Yep.
So I would take half of the 49
So we'll
and
say
then go with the
25.
139 and whatever that turns out to be. I haven't even had time to
164,
figure it out.
163,
165.
164.
165 if you round it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rep. Waters Evans has her hand up, but I just want to like chime in here. I do totally understand the resource stress that's going on in there. I am more favorable to recommending a full ask, but if the committee wants to have more conversation on that, like that's the committee's decision as a group. But given the stress and workload on that, I'm leaning more towards the full recommend, and then let appropriations continue to suss this out. Rep. Waters Evans, Rep. Boyden, Rep. Manga.
Your math was wrong. That's why I raised my hand. I'm sorry.
My Lola?
Your math was wrong.
On what?
The governor is recommending 250. And then my offer was
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
165 on top of that. It wasn't the full ask, but so 165 isn't the full ask.
So 351 is the
Yeah.
additional.
Okay.
No, and I knew that in my head. I just was.
Okay. Thanks for taking me out of turn.
So, Rep. Waters Evans, Rep. Boyden, and then Rep. Manga. So I believe is how we were calling hands.
But I appreciate the offer of a compromise. I feel very much that, as I said earlier, we charged them with doing this job. It's our responsibility to make sure they can do it effectively. Second, I worry about only half funding over what they asked, because we had the chair of the ethics commission in here asking are telling us that if it didn't get full funding, or if they didn't get this money for the 2 staff positions, that they would cease to be able to operate. So I'm assuming that half might not cut it. And also, I say this every year when we talk about this, it's hard for me to digest looking at these budget items that are like $15 million, $2 million, like 1.2 million, 7.838, 580, like all these giant amounts of money. And we're like this $160,000 for an extra attorney is really going to put us over the edge here. When I think that when we don't have I know that it's not our job to go into the small details of it. For me, it's more, I think right now more than ever is a time when we need to make sure people can trust not only their municipal government, but that they can trust their state government. And I worry especially about the municipal things. We've heard over and over again, a lot of times in those situations, the person you're complaining to is also the person you're complaining about, or their cousin, or the person who sits next to them. And it gets awkward and weird for people, so they don't say anything. And I think having an external place, they're not making decisions, they're just advising. I think it's really going to help a lot of Vermonters. And I appreciate the offer of a half, but maybe we have to talk about it tomorrow if that's what we're going to do, because I'm fully supportive of the whole amount.
On a similar note, I think from a policy perspective, we should either recommend the full amount or just circle back on this ask, and allow the appropriations committee to either debate up. Maybe they recommend an amount that's similar to the full amount, but not quite, or they make that kind of chopping decision.
Rectangle, did you?
No.
Okay.
Thanks.
I guess my question would be, do we know what the 250 that the governor recommended is for?
That's for the current staff that they have without the 2.
Without this, so this is above and beyond that, okay.
This is additional, right? It's above.
Okay. All right, that was my question.
Perhaps so.
I say go for it and appropriations, make their decisions. Their committee, if there needs to be something altered, but I mean, asking for 2 positions. It's not that much, but without them, it's like they'll cease to exist. So again, I support it as written. Just reaffirming what I said. Based on their testimony and our scope of what our committee is. Versus.
So you want to carry this one over for a later conversation, or do we want to write it?
They do it in the bud now.
Or get it over for,
Rep. Morton?
if we're gonna look at it again tomorrow, we can look at this. There may be a handful like this we need to, look it over tomorrow, think on it. And I appreciate the fact that he gave the appropriations, let them do it, but I also think they're looking for us to do some work. That's why we have it.
So I say full amount.
I'm sorry. What's that?
I say the full amount.
Rep. Warner Stephens?
Is it possible to just take everybody's temperature and then talk about it tomorrow and see if we can yes or no, like just kind of see what's going on? I promise I won't pressure anybody in the hallway. I'm just curious to know like what people are, I understand, I think what people are concerned about. I'm just curious.
No, this is like a formally informal conversation. We've got to like marinate on stuff going into the next step. I mean, we spoke to that at the beginning of this, right? As part of the practice within these items. Rep. Hisnall.
I think marinating on it until tomorrow is good, because I think there's others in here that we can make some big cuts to that would counter offset that split. That's why.
Maybe.
That's one way to think about it. Yeah.
Might be true.
Right.
Yeah. We can put that on hold.
Yeah.
Sure.
So at the outset, we decided we were only gonna go quickly through this, and ones that we were unanimously agreed on, we would mark off with a yes, or unanimously So it makes sense. It's off till tomorrow. Because we have witnesses that just came in for our newsletter period. We're only on page one.
We got 8 minutes, yeah.
And this is due Friday.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, I had the game on.
All right, so the next one, Rep. Nugent might need to,
Yes, so the Attorney General's office, and this has got a couple of different lines in it, so, we did not hear directly
Right.
from them,
so
so,
we might need to.
yeah, insight on this?
I don't know if I have anything in addition to what's on the page. Just that I think they're getting more need, they have to do things, sorry, I'm a little recovering from a cold, but I think they're getting more asks. Their workload has increased quite a bit.
Okay, Rebecca?
I think we need to hear from them directly
Okay.
about this. And I apologize that we haven't heard from them yet.
Get something in here. Okay, so we'll reach out to them. And I just figured out where I was getting that weird 1.3 to 1.8 something math in my
From
head.
Vermont Access
Because I
Network.
was conflating that request with Veterans Home and Vermont Access Network. Those were the numbers.
They both start with a
Wrong column.
V. Three
Yeah.
letters start with a V.
Right. So yeah, so this is something that this committee has been broadly supportive of in the past with our smaller market media and public media. And so this is the one that was the 1.35 in the governor's recommend, and then you got the $540,000 extra to help offset gaps in funding. Reference not.
Also keeping in mind that they now have the radio, community radio in that budget line, which has always been separate in the past.
Correct.
So I'm in full support of this $1,890,000.
Same.
Okay, favorable thumbs?
Thing.
All right, favorable thumbs on that one. All right, Common Good Vermont. We heard testimony on this where it's funding to get to offset the impacts of federal cuts and financial management and compliance systems for grant making and contracting systems.
We didn't have anybody assigned to that because that was like kind of a last minute letter that we received.
Yes. We did have representative from Common Good did offer some testimony on this ask though. And it's, yeah, resourcing a resource for the smaller nonprofits.
Should we come back, circle back to it then?
Sure.
Just so we can discuss ones that we.
I'm gonna
testimony on.
share their letter with you all. So everybody has the same information.
Okay. But that sounds like more information or more time to digest. Hold on it.
Yep.
Are all of the letters also available on our website already, or were they only sent to? I see Nick nodding
Yeah.
on our website.
We've been trying to like catalog them as they come in.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's been a steady flow in different regions.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
but no, Nick has been doing a very good job trying to warehouse all that stuff for us to reference. All right, emergency management and disaster response. This is that request. Kind of Sutton. And Rebecca.
Do we think we're going to try to build this into our omnibus bill? Because if so, that's justification for supporting it. And that's something we haven't talked about at all.
Yes. So this is a bigger money conversation now because that FEMA request being denied. So that has exacerbated the need for an allocation such as this. As we continue to work on that all hazards emergency response bill, we were gonna have conversations about what type of dollars go in this direction and more broadly. And yeah, I think this is a better circle back conversation for the sake of moving briskly. Let's see, we have up next Office of Racial Equity for $110,000. And right, this is a continuation for additional years, so this was reading like it was an appropriation. It's in the governor's recommend. Comes. All right. Support. Truth and Reconciliation Commission, $900,000. Again, in budget recommend, it's a completion of scope of work. Bob, that's a finger. Thumbs or fingers, but. UVM, $15 million, Higher Education Endowment Trust Fund. That is a big number, but it is in the budget recommend for.
You know what, I kind of may not like it either.
What's
I said, oh, I like it. It's a lot of money and they don't admit a lot of students. And, what do the other schools got? That are now University Vermont State Universities. Don't support them.
Vermont State Colleges.
Not at that level.
It's not at that level for sure. I think there's a huge spending problem there. This is what the president's getting off the pay, not that she doesn't, or he doesn't deserve. She.
So, do we want to hold off on making a formal recommendation on this one right now? And sort of-
Are you gonna go up against?
I'm gonna go against her.
Vivian?
I might.
I just want to say no, just.
We're tight on clock. I want to get through a couple more lines.
Yeah.
$50 million is a lot of money when it stays in the position that we're in right now.
Can I make a suggestion? We have not heard from them
Mhm.
at all
Yeah.
about how they use this fund specifically and why they asked for that much money. So maybe we can put this one off and maybe get somebody to send us a written statement even.
I had a-
Right, what they're using it for.
Yeah, and if you wouldn't mind checking with your budget buddy to find out who they heard from on that Rep Stone, that would be great.
I have a hand from Rep. Waters Evans, then Fiscal.
I think everyone just discussed what I was going to ask, which is what exactly makes up that $15 million?
Yeah, it's a huge number.
All right, and again, this is one of those things that we learned about really recently that's within our portfolio.
Rep. Fiscal.
I'm just gonna say the trick word here is endowment. To me, endowment means you're investing the money and not using it. So are they just taking the 15 million, investing it and then using the interest off from it? I mean, like, what are they using the 15 million for?
Okay, I messaged my budget buddy.
So
Yeah.
we're in a universal agreement to
Wait.
poke at this more.
Mhm.
Okay.
Just a general question, not saying I want to miss the deadline, but our report is due on Friday. You said, what happens if we miss it?
I think that people have missed it.
I'm not saying that I want to miss it. I love a deadline, but I just was wondering.
I'm pretty sure last year committees asked for extra time.
All right, so it's possible, but we want to be diligent and get our work done, but just.
I like, yeah,
It's-
I like hitting deadlines, but no, I understand the point. Like, I don't think that, I think there's ability to risk question like the dispensation.
Yeah, I was just a little concerned about a few of the people we haven't heard from yet, and I would like to hear from them first before
Yes.
we decide.
And we also had left when we were doing again, plans when we had some good amount of stuff.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So, all right, we're gonna do one more to wrap up this page. We got the Vermont State Police, $500,000 for radio equipment and replacement special fund. And that is in the recommend.
Mhm.
That's,
Reference all.
is that for the new, that's for the new 911?
No.
I believe this is just like straight up hardware.
Just-
Or
Yeah.
Constant updating.
Okay, fine.
Rep. Waters Evans.
this budget stuff is not my area of expertise. So it looks like this Vermont State Police Fund, this radio equipment replacement special fund is the only one for the budget section that says fund transfers. Does that mean it's just coming from somewhere?
Oh, good question.
Somebody explain that?
Peter, take all
Don't know. I'd have to ask.
Yeah,
Could you find out from your budget money, please?
Well,
that would be a wonderful question, because if that's just like kind of like column shifting from an existing fund.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
talk to Wayne the restaurant.
That's what it sounds like. It might be to just money set aside so when they need it, it's there.
It's a different thing that has to go kind of sweep the final fund.
Okay.
Okay, so that squares that 2 pages of work. That leaves us with 2 pages plus a soft third.
3.5
3.5,
pages, basically.
All right, let's,
Oh, not more time.
yeah, we'll,
We're at.
we're at 3 right now for this, but we're like a little light on our. We only have 2 people to speak to this bill. Perhaps when we do this, perhaps, let's see what the clock looks like. Maybe we could go back into this for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And get a little bit more work done. I think it would be good to keep the momentum moving on this spreadsheet. So, all right, with that. We are going conversation on page 93. And, yes, page 93, an act relating to the creation and maintenance of a database of veterans in Vermont. I want to open up with Josiah, if that's okay. How you doing, sir? Good. Cool. Thanks for having me. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Good. All right. Hi. It's been a while since we had you in a chair here. Been a little bit. It has. How is life with a shifting portfolio where we don't see you as much?
Plenty busy.
Good, I bet. Yeah.
Cool. Well, for the record, Josiah Raish, I'm the Chief Data and AI Officer for the state, and I am within the Agency of Digital Services. Yeah, so I have a couple of thoughts, but if you have questions, we can start with your questions, kind of whichever way you would prefer to do it.
Does anything have any questions right out of the gate? Representative Hooper?
How are we gonna make this happen?
We're gonna make this happen. Well, that gets to some of the things that we're gonna talk about.
That's your.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this is, I will just preface what I'm going to say by saying this is a short form bill, so there is a lot of possible directions this could go. And some of the specifics, of course, will vary depending on what you want to do. But I think as I was initially reviewing this bill, it looked very similar to me to the registries that we have throughout the state, I'd say the Vermont Department of Health. And whenever we're doing a new data collection, there's always 2 questions that I ask. So this is letting you into my head and things that I think about when I'm like looking at new data collections. One is around protecting the data. So are there, is this a high value target for nefarious actors? And in this case, I think most registries are. This one I think would be especially potentially high value for foreign state actors. So that's just a thing. It requires a higher level of protection than most other databases that we create. There's always some inherent risk with just mixing certain types of data together, because if somebody were to get a hold of them, there's consequences. So that's something that I think is relatively high on this data set. And then the other kind of risk is, could this data be reused for something beyond our original intent, and would that cause a problem? I think that is not such a big deal here, but it's another thing that I consider. Like, I guess an example is we get a lot of requests right now from the feds for data that is collected at the state level. Like, that's kind of a new thing over the last couple of years, that state collected data is of interest at the federal level. And so that's just something we keep in mind whenever we're creating new data sets now. But So in general, I think my biggest concern on this one is the potential privacy risk to Vermont veterans, and also the fact that this would become a high value target for bad guys. I think one question that I have that you all don't have to answer right now, but I'm excited to see the long form version of this bill to answer is what the purpose of this registry is. So last week when you all took testimony, Pennsylvania and Oklahoma were mentioned as states that already have something similar. I reviewed their systems just at a high level, and they really take very different approaches to how they built this. So Pennsylvania, it's basically a big mailing list. You don't have to be a veteran to sign up. You just have to have interest in veterans related programs. And so it's veterans and spouses and advocacy organizations, and like I could go sign up and find out what Pennsylvania has on offer and job postings. And it's basically a mailing list. Oklahoma has taken a very different approach. You have to have your discharge papers and send them to them. You have to, or an active duty military ID card. And then they verify the authenticity of that, and it's used to grant access to some tax benefits. And it's much more of a eligibility verification type of a registry. And in the conversation last week, it seemed like we could be leaning either way, and knowing which of those we're doing is going to be important to be able to comment on, is how could we approach actually operationalizing this. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is, if we are primarily focused on creating awareness about programs, a registry may not be the most effective way to do that, because there are quite a few folks who actually won't choose to opt into a registry. I did a very informal straw poll of veterans who I interact with regularly over the weekend, and I was like, hey, would you sign up? And they're like, no, or maybe, it really kind of varied. So we're not going to get kind of robust coverage through an opt-in type of a registry, which depending on the purpose might be okay. But if our goal is to reach some of the populations of veterans that are a bit harder to contact because their contact information changes regularly, for example, folks who have struggle with housing, we may be better just to do traditional advertising and be able to reach out to them that way, maybe equally effective and not have any of the potential risks. So those are some initial thoughts based on the short form bill, but I'm really happy to answer questions. I think in order to, I believe in the testimony last week, there was some concern about, the technology is really the hang up here. I think that if we have more about the intent and how the registry is intended to be used, we can speak to, how much does it cost? How much would it need? But a system like Pennsylvania versus a system like Oklahoma are like really different in the amount of resources that they need to maintain them, the complexity of building them. And I think I just wanted to point out that there are potential risks, and, we need to make sure that before we go create a database of everyone who knows how to use weapons well in the state, that we may want to just consider what are the potential consequences of having that, and if it's worth the benefit we intend to get. Those are some initial thoughts, but happy to answer any other questions.
Representative Hango.
So I'm hearing you say that we would have to make a policy decision of whether we want this to be a mailing list for creating awareness, or we want it to be a database for folks seeking programs to verify their eligibility. And also I heard you say that you can't really comment on the cost without knowing the scope, correct?
Yep.
And that's fair. I understand that. Yep. Thank you.
Anything else, Rep. Hoover?
So something between Pennsylvania and veteran exclusive would really have no difference in terms of bill or policy.
And if you were only allowing veterans and spouses, for example.
Yes.
I think it's hard to guarantee it's only veterans unless you do some sort of verification. Does that make sense?
Well, our goal, I think, is to fish for the veterans that are on. I mean, part of the rationalization of building this is because we think we have 43,000. But we have no idea. So any that would be, and I think we would also try to gather some information from the Fed. We don't have any tax benefits to my knowledge that would go through here, the veterans tax benefit for the retirement thing would come off of 1099, so wouldn't have anything to do with this. It should be pretty simple.
Okay. Revenue.
I was wondering if you had any thoughts about, I believe that the census tracks this as well, and how that would potentially interact with the whatever system we set up at the state level.
In general, we don't get any identified data from the census. We only get de-identified, kind of census tract level. So people live in this area type of information. That can be useful for program design, but it's not useful for contact.
But with having a more refined proposal, we're at that stage right now where it's got to be refined so we can understand the cost and the implementation scope.
And I would say from a perspective of preserving privacy, my preference is if we're doing this more like Pennsylvania, where the fact that you're on this list does not necessarily imply that you're a veteran. It just means that you're interested in programs. That also is nice for, like if you're a child who's a caretaker of a parent, right? Like, it just offers more flexibility there.
Anything else? Or yes? Thank you for the feedback. Very appreciative. Hi, Mr. Burt. Hello. How are you? Well. Enjoy. All right. How are you?
Good. So I am Robert Burke. I am the Director of the Vermont Office of Veterans Affairs. Is Nick Nick, are you gonna be able to bring up that slide, those slides I sent?
Do we have them on our?
We do.
It's on our page.
If we have them on our page, we're good with that, Mr. Burke.
Yeah, so one of the I'll get into the specifics of each 93, but one of the other questions was, are there any other federal resources available? So I put together a couple of quick slides. And the first one is a link to the VA National Database Center for Veterans Analysis and Statistics. And you can slice and dice and sort all sorts of reports and data. It's based on VA data. It's based on census data, and a couple of other models. And on the website there, you can really dig down deep and understand where that data comes from and how they come up with their numbers. They do a good job in justifying and trying to explain, okay, how did we get these numbers? The second slide is a good link. And so that's the Vermont summary, right? So that gives you everything from population broken down by age, by war period, non-war period. It'll show you the number of facilities that the VA is operating in the state, how much building and equipment money goes into that, how much compensation and pension monies are being expended to the state. So that's a good overview. Now, the problem with a lot of the VA's data is it's a couple to a few fiscal years behind. So data that you're looking at are not necessarily from 2024 or 2023. They may be older than that, but it's a good snapshot, and you can do it. In the population tables from the first page there, a little where all the people are standing, if you look at those again, you can slice and dice. I did this I just ran a quick one and it's for, we only have one congressional district, so it's pretty easy. You can pull the whole state. And this one is just, male and female, under 65, over 65. And again, you can sort it by period of time served, by specific age categories. And I just did a 10-year projection, 23 to 2033. So you can see, obviously, we're aging veteran population, so our numbers decline every year. We'll be, half of what we are now in 10 years in terms of veterans. So they don't do a projection on potential ads, right? Who knows how many people are going to join? Who knows how many people are going to end up coming back here? Who knows how many people are going to join either the Guard, Air, Army, any of the reserve components? So that's a harder to come up with. Okay, we're going to add X number each year. We know from age estimates how many we're going to lose per year. We can pretty accurately forecast how many veterans we're going to lose per year, just by attrition. So that's in terms of federal data that's out there, and one of my main go-to sources when I'm looking for detailed veteran data on specifics of periods served, race, sex. You can do it, you can break it down by county. So Chittenden County is the highest population of veterans, Franklin County is the second. So you can break those numbers down too. And that's when you open up that state report, the first thing is a map and it shows you color coded by population density. You can see Chittenden County highest, and it goes down to Rutland County and down after that. Any questions on those resources?
Oh, looks like we're good.
So, go ahead.
Do it quick. So we took this up last year.
Mhm.
Taking it up again at the broadening of the feedback. Things behind it besides knowing a little more certainly who's here and who's.
Well, I think that's it. I think in their mind, it's being able to fall back on our own data versus relying on somebody else's. Now, this is my 15th year in the position, so I've never had homegrown data. So I've always relied on the federal data, which is, fairly correct as far as I can tell. But again, I only find out about new people coming here if they come in to apply for a driver's license.
Yeah.
Or they apply for the, tax reduction, property tax reduction. But ones that leave or pass away, unless I'm reading an obituary or we're burying them in our cemetery, I know those numbers, but, and I think Josiah made a good point, and I made the point last year. What's our purpose? What's the objective? And I'm not sure, you got the Gary DeGasta, the GVAC chair. He sent in some written testimony.
Yes.
And he brings up, which has been floating around for a number of years, the Paris match. And that's to try and offload state benefits to people who are eligible for federal benefits. Right. So it's to make sure that you're maximizing your federal benefits while not double dipping, but relying on state benefits when there are federal benefits available to you for a number of different purposes. Right. So, yeah. And certainly the risk is out there. The value of the mailing list versus the eligibility verification list. Again, 65% of our veteran population is age 55 or older. Right? One of the first, and I think I mentioned this last year, I mentioned it a lot. One of the first questions we ask when somebody calls is, do you use a computer? Right? If you don't, okay, then I'm going to mail you out cemetery application. I'm going to mail you out the DMV eligibility form for you to fill out, et cetera, et cetera. So, that's an issue also. I'm a 28-year Navy veteran retired. Would I be opting in? I don't know. Yeah. I retired in 2012, and at some point the office must have sent me a package because a couple of years later, I found a package from my then Office of Veterans Affairs, State Street. And I was like, I wonder what this was. Because at that point I was done and I was moving on. So there is that sentiment out there. And there is still the initial pushback years and years ago was privacy and what is going to happen with that data that I give to the state, right? Whether it's the Department of Labor, DMV, it's completely voluntary, but if you want that veteran designation on your driver's license or a registration plate, well, there's a verification method through that. And also with labor for certain programs that they have just for veterans. So I just, and, just as I said, what do you want depends on how it gets developed and operationalized, and that gives you the cost and resources required.
Grab Hoover.
So I've brought this up a couple of years and it's always been associated with the license plate. They're discounted or free license plate for veterans. And this registry, it's a tag along with it. Now it looks like we have a wagon looking for a horse. So. What that's thing, but.
Grab Morgan.
Yeah, just to pile on to Bob, I think I'm coming to this Bob. It's just, yeah, I'm starting to wonder, I full appreciation for you bringing it forward, but I'm starting to wonder, is it really going to accomplish anything, or is it maybe a bit of an archaic mindset if we create a bill, or not a bill, a registry, veterans are going to get something more. I can kind of mirror Bob Burke's story of, I retired, granted I was in the state, he retired active duty, but nevertheless, resources, or I should say, mailers, or, like the possibility of getting, homestead tax relief, that kind of thing. It all came in the mail to me. I occasionally talk to veterans because people know I am one. So a lot of times, like I've got one right here. Somebody wants, they're from really not my district, but I'll absolutely call them back about what's available out there. So I suppose you could make an argument that now and then there's a miss, but I don't think this is going to capture a miss, if that makes sense. I think it.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's like Bob said, maybe he's coming to that same realization. I don't know. Or did I misread what you said? I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but.
Oh, the cart looking for a horse.
Yes, thank you. There's no.
And the only thing firmly that we have put down on the table that would be beneficial for is if we're another burn pit incident or 214, 214 incident or something else that went back, that you'd want to make sure everybody was notified that it would help them. Hope that the VA is doing that.
Oh, yes.
But
I think they do.
Lost too.
I think they do a fairly good job.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
But again, just again, from that federal level that Bob Burke is alluding to, is that all the time, I just got one while we were sitting here like an hour ago, a notification on, you know, you see things come through all the time going, hey, you know, what's out there? You know, what's available? This new thing's available. So I think generally they do a pretty good job of pushing that out. You get it?
You're tied into.
I got a hand from our witness. Mr.
So again, I think Josiah brought up a good point about advertising and awareness. You know, we have a chock-a-block full website which discusses all of the benefits, federal and state, that are available to include the cemetery, and how to contact us, how to get applications, how to get information. You know, I have a list of, it's probably close to 70 or so mailing, email distribution list where I send out things to different veteran organizations. Yeah.
Representative.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up because I wasn't certain how that all happened, but you must have a database of the VFWs and the American Legions and the auxiliaries that you can blast out information that's really needed, that's important and crucial and time sensitive.
Sure.
So that's great to know.
And it includes organizations like Vermont Adaptive and Blue Star Mothers Dissolve, but Blue Star Mothers, Josh's House, all of those, everybody gets. I try not to spam everybody too much, but I did send one out this morning about that movie, you may have seen it, about PTSD growth. They're calling it very good. The movie is called Sheepdog. And so it's available now to stream online. It was shown at I can't think of what the theater was, down in Dartmouth, New Hampshire, around Dartmouth College. And I know I got feedback from a few people who were able to go and see the screening there. But that was the only place kind of within our catchment. You know, the federal VA, the White River, they talk about the catchment, and it's 3 counties in New Hampshire, and then it's the majority of counties in Vermont, unless you get really close. Brattleboro, you might go to Albany. So they look at it in that sort of catchment area term.
It seems to me that this is just an observation since we first talked about this bill a very long time ago, probably 6 or 7 years ago. The communication channels have gotten easier for people to use. More and more people are using social media and email blasts and things like that, Front Porch Forum. So it seems like it's easier to get information out. I mean, I remember we were trying to figure out ways to like call every VFW and American Legion in the state, you know, when the burn pit registry was first started. So I think we've made some progress on this already.
And organizationally, right? So for those organizations, I go through the state headquarters through the adjutant. Right now, I do have the super secret listing in paper of all the posts and their phone numbers, and you know, good luck with that. It's the adjutant's job to put that out to all their posts. And I have kind of a check and balance where I kind of check around, hey, did you guys hear about, you know, this? Oh yeah, we did get that email. But again, it's only if somebody opens it and reads it.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Burke right now, or for Josiah? Ooh, not seeing any hands. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So I think we gotta like move along this one, just given some of the we got existing resources that exist. Kind of how's this work really? What cost would it be within the scope of implementing it, which fashion? So what I do want to talk about briefly is we have that larger bill that we're putting components of the military and veterans bills into. And one of the things I wanted to discuss with the committee after this testimony was whether or not to include this in that conversation or in that vehicle, or to leave this as a standalone. Because I think I'm feeling like this needs more attention than the other vehicle is kind of allotting time for. Rep. Hango, then Rep. Stone.
Yeah, having been part of working on this bill for literally 7 years, I do feel that it should be a standalone bill. So that's where the direction I think we should go, and whether it makes crossover or not will depend on any further information that we get. I think because it seems like there are two camps for this. One that we really don't need this bill to make this happen, and another, if you read the letter on our website, that there has to be a bill to make this happen. And I think it's all about servicing our veterans with easy, accessible information about what is available to them in the state.
Representative Stone.
I'm in support of keeping it as its own bill because I have two concerns. One is data privacy, making sure that our state is equipped to keep this information on lockdown because it's a vulnerable population. And then two, just being really clear about the why of this, because right now, like Representative Hooper said, yes, there's a license plate and it would like keep veterans from having to carry their DD-214 around to get that, I guess. If they were on this list, that could be an example of something maybe that they could look at and, you know, whatever. But other than that, we need to be really clear on like what it is that we want to be sharing with veterans and or their family, et cetera. It just seems like we need to be a little bit more organized on this before we put words on a page and vote on it. That's my opinion.
And that's like kind of speaking to the core of the conversation right now about, because the piece we're at right now is whether or not to include this in the other piece. So I'm feeling a broad agreement that this should stay separate. Yep, cool. All right, check that box. And then it's how does this get refined in a way that addresses these concerns, right? Like I'm kind of have what Rep. Hango said, that this has been an evolving conversation for, you know, many, many, many years now. And so as that conversation evolved, the technology and the things that we have in and around concerns with security breaches for data privacy and things of that nature have changed exponentially from when this conversation first started, because wow, a lot's changed in that world in 7 years. Rep. Hooper.
Might suggest that we book Colonel DaCosta, who's chairing the governor's Veterans Advisory Commission, just in case he wants to add something more than he's written.
He did submit written testimony
Yeah,
today.
he
He
was
was trying to
unable to-
join us.
Yeah, he was unable to join us.
Yeah.
So his testimony is on our webpage.
Okay, so excluding it from the omnibus bill. Yeah, understanding that there's concerns and barriers right now. And so we can continue to work on this and refine it on the side. But until that point, we'll keep moving forward with the other piece of legislation and leave this independent. All right, great. Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Back to your spreadsheet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, please sit back now.
Great segue,
Talk
sir.
about
I'm gonna call it a minute timeout. Let's actually do still a 3:45. Call a timeout real quick for a bio break. Take us off, Nick.